How is it going, folks? Welcome back to Rebuilding Dortmund. We are here for episode number 2. Yesterday we kicked off this series. You guys loved it. If you check that out and you're back here today, welcome back. I'm glad you enjoyed yesterday enough to be back here today, as hopefully we will sign some players. Last episode, just as a reminder, we've sold a load of players. There are also still a load more players going out, including Ragu Dragusin, who I have decided I am going to let go. Last episode, we had this offer from Shakhtar that was a good offer, and apparently he might be unhappy if I don't accept it, but he's not going to Shakhtar, and the reason for that is he's going to go to Sassuolo, because they have bid, well, they had bid 6 point something million, and I've been able to negotiate it up a little bit more to 7.5 million. That'll do me. To kick off today's episode, we currently have 23 first-team players, although a few of the players sat here in the reserves are hopefully going to be gone in the next couple of days. After last episode, I did come back and have a bit more of a tactical tinker. I'm thinking a 4-2-3-1 might be the play, especially if Giovanni doesn't end up leaving the club. I've tried to sell Reina here. Nobody wants him. Well, no one's bid on him yet. I mean, while we're here, we might as well just offer him out again. I feel like if I get 20 million for him, that would be fine. I also realise I've kicked off today's episode by saying we're going to sign players and then discussing more players we're trying to sell. I promise that will be changing today because the first game of the league season is 11 days away. Yeah, I need to buy players. With that in mind, today is a transfer special. We're diving into the market. We're going to splash the cash. Plenty of money to burn. Let's run that intro and get straight into things. And well, speaking of money to burn, look at how much money is currently sat in our bank account. £133 million. If you are enjoying this series, if you're excited for today's video, do drop a like on it. Help feed the algorithm. In terms of transfer budget, well, you can see here, £58 million, loads of wage budget. In fact, we are spending less than half the wage budget. The wages are not going to be going up that much. So with that in mind, I am going to shuffle a bit more money into the transfer budget. We now have £90 million to spend. I'll say now, we'll not be spending all of this money. I feel like it'd be sensible to save some of it for when we're back in the big time and I can actually pull in some better players. And just before we dive into the transfer window and the transfer market, a little reminder of our self-imposed transfer restrictions. We are allowed one international wildcard per season and one further wildcard signing who is from Austria, Switzerland or Liechtenstein. The rest of our players have to have at least partial German nationality. While star ratings aren't the be-all or end-all, I think it's safe to say when you look at the star ratings for our defence, we're lacking. And I suppose a screen that shows this fairly well is the squad depth screen where you can see the centre-back situation here. Yeah, we've got 2 3-star ability players. One of them is Paul Jekyll, who I think could be a good, solid, experienced option for us. And the other is Radu, who's leaving the club. So probably want to sign a centre-back or two. In the wing-back area, we have got Filippo Mane here, who I think could be a good right-back option, but he doesn't exactly wow me. I don't want him to be our solitary option, so a right-back's definitely on the cards. And over in the left-back area, Valeri is our main man, but he is also on his way out the club. He wants to leave the club. He has been pretty shocking during his time at Dortmund. With that in mind, we're cashing in on him. He's about to leave us for 2.8 million. And our next in-line left-back is Prince Anning, who is a good homegrown club player, not someone I want to be starting a left-back on the regular. And in fact, just looking at the homegrown club situation here, of our 23-man first-team squad right now, with some players leaving, 12 of those players are homegrown at Dortmund. We have a nice core of players who have come through the academy, a few players I've actually promoted from the B team, and I would like to retain that little bit of identity during my time here. Now, whilst I don't intend on plucking away at the carcass of my former Union Berlin side, and in fact, I think it's going to be hard to attract some of their players since they have Champions League football, it is a big squad that I amassed at the club, and there are some players here who, if they're interested, I'd quite like to sign. The first of those options who I think could be really good for us is a left-back option in Vitali Becker. He never actually played for us at Union Berlin because we signed him from Schalke, then loaned him back to Schalke. He's very much a squad player for them. He's the kind of left-back option who at 21 could get a little bit better, and at least on the face of it, I feel like he's not going to be too unreasonable cost-wise to sign. 4.8 to 7.2 million, reasonable wages. I'm going to get a bid made on him. And of course, added bonus, he is German, which is that transfer restriction we have. On the flip side, Union Berlin want £10 million for him. And whilst I don't need to penny pinch and I don't really want to, mug off my former club, I don't want to spend stupid sums of money if I can avoid it. At the same time, though, £7 million for a player who I think could be left back for us this year and when we reach the Bundesliga, That feels like a sensible starting point. At right back as well, a very similar mould of player is Thailand Bullets. This was a regular starter for me during my time at Union Berlin, but I've noticed already his squad status has dropped to squad player. Would he be interested in a move? Would he be affordable to move? Apparently he wouldn't have any interest and we need to get promoted. One player who I thought I might sign from Union Berlin is Gekter, but he's already gone to Freiburg. I've arrived a week too late. One player who I have noticed is loan listed is Adriano, who was absolutely immense for us in our last year. 20 years old, really good creative centre mid. I wonder if I talk to his agent, how much are we talking to sign him permanently? 20 to 30 million. I mean, the mad thing is, I could sign him. I mean, he was good for us. I'm not sure he was 20 to 30 million pounds good. I'm going to scout Bullet because I feel like if I could get Bullet at right back, it would be an amazing coup to pull off. Maybe if I actually make a bid, his agent will change his mind or something. I mean, who am I kidding? I'm just trying to make him unsettled, but I don't think it's going to work. One of the issues I am going to have here at Dortmund is I've spent 3 years hoovering up a lot of the best young, affordable, cheap German players for Union Berlin. There's not that many of them left. On the flip side, with this starting 11 that we've got and the squad at our current disposal, when it comes to the wildcard signings, I feel like we can just go for the best players available because there's not an obvious immediate area of concern where I absolutely have to sign someone to fit in. With the one non-German player that we often sign, it's often been a player who has to go into a position that there just isn't a German option for. With the state of the current squad, there's not a position that I look at and go, this is an immediate concern. And in fact, when I look through the players available, I want to say there's a name that jumps out. There are no names that jump out here. I feel like 38 million for Dominic Solanke probably wouldn't be wise. Having a look at younger German options with some potential here, Ibrahimovic of Bayern Munich is not a bad option. 20 years old, right-footed, versatile attacking midfielder. There are certain areas of the pitch that I maybe have a question mark over, and I do feel like in those wide areas, whilst there is a long list of players here, it's a collection of very versatile players, many of whom are already starting elsewhere on the pitch. So getting into someone like Ibrahimovic could just add a bit of needed depth. His agent is warning me he might want 44 to 60,000 pounds a week though. German player who's transfer listed by request is Philipp Schulz, who's actually at Union Berlin's second team transfer listed for 1.1 million. He's a good centre-back option. I don't know if he's a great option, but at that kind of price, I feel like you could do a lot worse. I'm going to stick a bid in for him right now. Okay, this does fill me with some concerns. Becker, who I think would be the ideal left-back option for us, he has major reservations about talking to us. He also has a lot of demands. Let's talk, Vitali. What do you want? You want to be a star player? You want to be a wing-back? I can give you that promise. You want me to upgrade the goalkeeping position? That isn't happening, but he has at least agreed to those terms. And I'll tell you what, in terms of wage demands, he only wants £26,000. I was expecting a lot worse. I wonder if he'll do a longer deal without the top division promotional wage rise. Okay, contract offered to Becker. Next up, Thailand Bullet, who has no interest in talking to us. So the dream of getting in a dreamy right back and left back duo from the club that I was managing, that's not happening. That's going to be a problem. Okay, up next, we've got Bayern's Ibrahimovic, the winger who I think could be a really versatile option for us. He, again, wants to be a star player, mate. You're not a star player. You're an important player at a push. He really wants to be a star player. I mean, if I have to offer him it and then just make him a bit upset, I can tolerate it. What I can't tolerate is the fact he's asking for £67,000 a week. Considering he won't even be starting for us, that is too much. Okay, a much simpler negotiation with Schulz. Hopefully he's going to choose to go for us because there are quite a few teams that have made bids for him. I have just been reminded, Haller does still exist. He's still in our team. We really need to get rid of him. And one of the reasons we need to get rid of him is because he's currently on £85,000 a week. We are trying to sell some of the big earners. And whilst one reason for doing it is it saves us some money, the other reason I want to get rid of the top earners is because when you're signing in players, they look at players of a similar squad status to what you're offering them as a ballpark area for how much money they should be on. That's why Ibrahimovic here, as a star player, thought he should be on £60,000 a week, which he shouldn't be. Yeah, I did see a few comments just asking, why are you selling all the top earners? Obviously, saving money is nice, but it also just influences the demands of other players. And you can see when you now look at the wages our players are on, it's a lot more reasonable. Okay, Valeri is leaving the club. We're selling him to Atalanta for £2.8 million. I would have liked to get a little bit more for him. But with Vitali Becker on his way in at the club at left back, I feel like we are in a position where we can just afford to let him go. If you were wondering, what kind of pulling power does a Bundesliga 2 Dortmund side have? Here's some of the players that we can actually try and attract. If I go to doubtful interest here, you can see Xavi Simons apparently might be an option from PSV. I mean, he would be an absolutely immense signing with Xavi Simons. Sadly, don't think he's realistic. I mean, how much does the agent think he's going to cost us? 67 to 84 million. That's too much. Interesting that in this universe, Kolo Muani has not left Eintracht Frankfurt. And in fact, apparently he'd be interested in coming to us. I dread to think how much I'd actually have to pay for the key player of Frankfurt to come and join us. Shall we check? How much would he want a week? 97 to 140,000. He does not fit the philosophy of player we're looking for. I have just noticed Jadon Sancho is listed on players who are interested in talking to us. Of course, Jadon Sancho, formerly of Dortmund, played 2 games in the Premier League last year for Manchester United, has just fallen completely out of favour at the club. He's asked to leave. He's only available for 23 million. I say only available. That seems really low. Then I look at his wages and realise he's on £325,000 a week. His agent thinks he'll want wages between $525,000 and $725,000. I mean, I'm not sure if using my wildcard signing on a loan is sensible, and I can't afford it anyway. I would have loved to have brought Jadon Sancho back. Now, we do need a right back, and there's a player who I had on my shortlist when I was at Union Berlin who caught my eye, and it's Satoshi Urata here. He is both a Japanese and German national who plays for the German national youth team. Definitely more of a defensive mid kind of player, but he could play right back. Would I really be stupid spending £20+ million on an 18-year-old right back? He's available from Freiburg. He'd want to join us. It'd be a massive, massive punt for the future. But he is also called Satoshi Urata, which is just the best name ever. At right back, we do also have Mane already, who I think could be a good option for us. When you compare him with Satoshi, yeah, Mane is definitely better. I feel like if it was 10 million, I could justify it. For 27 million, it's a lot harder, isn't it? As I continue to look for young German players who might want to join us, familiar face here, Brian Gruder of Union Berlin is also available. We signed him back in the day for £4.5 million. He has spent the last 2 years playing in the Bundesliga 2. Last year at the level we're currently playing at, he got 12 goals in 24 games, which is actually a really, really good return. Available for 5.2 to 7.8 million. Oh, it's very, very tempting to bring him in because I actually think he could be a useful player for us. We've got this whole host of attacking midfielder talent. None of them are left-footed. I've managed to negotiate an £8 million bid with Union Berlin. It's a little bit more than I'd want to spend on him, but at the same time, I don't know if there's going to be a better option out there. Like I already mentioned, we're going to have this challenge this year has been limited to largely German signings, where I probably am going to have to overpay a little bit for domestic talent. There is just that extra tax on German players. Okay, contract for Gruder successfully negotiated, 4-year deal, less than £20,000 a week. At 22 years old, a player who I think can grow into a useful role at the team. Certainly the kind of player who will be able to offer us something on off the bench. Also, a little bit of a set-piece wizard. You need set-piece wizards in Football Manager, and he's got that magic touch. I love the fact that Jadon Sancho's agent has come to me and gone, yeah, you know how you were looking at Jadon? Do you want to have another chat? Mate, I've heard how much you want per week for him. It's not happening. Mr. Forston will. If you want to let Jadon know, I'll pay him £35,000. Maybe then we can talk. He's still got 2 years left on his current deal. Maybe I can pick him up on a free transfer then. I talked about being tempted by Adriano. The fact that his agents come to me is making me more and more tempted. When I've looked at all the options that are available, there is no better young German option than this guy. He finished runner-up in the Next Gen award. He is a top quality player, loads of potential. And whilst I might have to pay a bit of an arm and a leg, we have many arms and many legs. We're like a spider here at Dortmund. Maybe we can afford to cut one of them off. That really was a metaphor that went too far, wasn't it? Looking at these negotiations here, I think he's going to be available for just under £21 million, maybe? Yeah, £21 million. You know what? It's not cheap, but I feel like if I'm going to make my big landmark signing, why not bring one of the best young, exciting talents from my former squad and build a team around him? I am fully aware we are currently in the process of signing 4 players. They're all former Union Berlin players. We will be casting the net further afar, I swear. I did not realise that Xavi Simons' contract is actually running out at the end of the year. That's probably why he's being offered out a little bit and is available for us to sign. He's only on £26,000 a week. When you compare him with Adriano, he's definitely a better player, but Adriano is 3 years his junior and available for 20 million. Simmons is probably going to cost you 3 times more than that. Just looking through players with contracts expiring in the next few years on the younger side of things, looking for potential wildcard signings, there's no one jumping out at me as a super exciting option. Okay, our offer for Adriano has been accepted. I suspect he's going to want some similar wages to Makoko, who's on around £60,000 a week. I will say, just for context, Adriano's currently on £5,000 a week at Union Berlin. I think that is probably the reason he's interested in talking to us. He wants to be a star player. He wants a load of money. Here's the damage. I mean, he's not having the release clause. That's the first thing. 1 to 5 year deal if possible. Don't want to give him a top divisional wage rise. Makoko's currently on £66,000 a week. So that's kind of where I want to set a soft limit. And I also want to get rid of the sell-on clause. I feel like I've altered a lot of stuff there. Hopefully, he's not going to be too angry. He's not as angry as I thought he was going to be. His wage demands have now been upped to that of Makoko. I'll give him the $66,000. He has to commit to a 5-year deal. That's the agreement I'm willing to strike, and it's the agreement he's willing to agree to, which I think is good news. This guy has some crazy, crazy potential. I think with such a young attacking core to the team, he's the kind of player who could start on the regular at centre attacking mid if Reina leaves. If Reina doesn't leave, he's got so much versatility in the final third and in the midfield. We could just get him the minutes he needs to continue to improve. Still on the hunt for a right back. There's some average options out there. Players like Jan Boller here, who I think could be a good option. Certainly comparable to Mane, but at the same time, he doesn't really excite me. And I wouldn't want to spend £7 million on a player who's a marginal upgrade. If anything, I'd rather spend a little bit more on a younger player who's really going to compete with Mane, but has the potential to be really, really good for us down the line. Someone, dare I say, like Satoshi Arata, just not for 27 million. I'm teasing it like I'm going to go for this guy by the end of the video. If I've signed this guy, things have gone horribly wrong. I'm not spending 27 million pounds on him. At the same time, there's options at right back, and they're all average. Remember Joshua Varkman? He used to be a really good wonder kid in Football Manager. Never seen him play outside of real life. Is this man even a real person? I'm beginning to think he only exists in Football Manager. Pongracic here is a good option. He is part German, Croatian international. In this save game, he's been playing for the last couple of years in the Netherlands, but he's less of a right back and more of a centre back. And I want a wing backy player, especially because I do feel like with our current system, with our current crop of players, a wing backy player is the kind of player that I need in that part of the pitch. Has just dawned on me, I could make the right back the wild card player that I signed. What wild card right backs are there out there? I could sign Tanganga for £24 million. Not a right back. Rodrigo Conceição feels like a scam for 22 million, doesn't he? Definitely a scam. For people who don't know, I use a regen face pack, which means all the players that get generated do get given photo faces. You get situations like this one with Romario here, who actually looks like he could be an exciting fullback option. I mean, he's a right back who can play at centre attacking mid. What more could you want? I suppose if he could be a bit better defensively, that would be good. He's exciting. I'm not sure if he's what we need, but he can play left back and right back, and he's either-footed. I'm really tempted, and I know it's a stupid option. Don't mind me, I'm now scouting all the youth players at the Brazilian under-21 squad, because surely some of them have got to be good. Is it just me, or is it really cursed that in this universe, Endrick is at Real Madrid, and he's wanted for loan by Brentford? Also, why has the AI been playing Endrick of all players at centre-back? Why? Like, look at the positions here. This is just upsetting. It's like they're trying to play Connect 4, but they don't really know the rules. I've clicked on the Brazil national team thinking, I need a right back. I'm now looking at Angelo thinking, yeah, you could be an interesting signing from Juve. He's currently in the process of a potential move to Leverkusen, but he's interested. But another player who's caught my eye is Andre Santos, who's 22 years old. He's only just turned 22. He is kind of the jack of all trades at 22. No, I need a right back. I really need a right back. Don't sign a Brazilian attacking midfielder, Jack. We need to get someone defensive. I keep coming back to Romario. I feel like Romario's just a bit exciting, isn't he? I mean, as far as wings backs go, his technicals are lacking in certain areas, and his mentals in areas too are a bit wobbly. But you look at the physicals, you look at the fact he's either-footed, and I just think it could be good vibes and fun with him. He's like the girlfriend that you know you're never going to settle down with. It's never going to work out for marriage or anything, but it's just a bit of fun. And I feel like Romario could be that guy. Nottingham Forest have offered to loan Giovanni Reina. They don't want to pay any money up front. Can I just sell him to you now for 20 million? They've offered 9 million. I don't think they know how negotiations work. Okay, Nottingham Forest, 18 million. They've offered 9.25. I feel like we could be here a while. They've locked in a bid of £10 million. I can't take that, but I'm now scared that he's going to get really grumpy about it. Okay, this is a curveball that I didn't expect to have to deal with. Haris Jovic is our goalkeeper for the year, 18 years old, product of the academy. I've just had a bid for him from Tottenham, who apparently he's very interested in talking to. They've offered 2.2 million that could rise up to 2.9 million. His estimated value is up to £7 million. Apparently I need to persuade him to stay. Let's have a chat, mate. Tottenham have a fantastic squad. Yes, mate, but they're bottlers. It's Tottenham. I'm going to tell him I don't think he's going to get as much football at Tottenham. Mate, for us, you're going to be a regular starter forever. He really, really wants to go. Okay, he's off now. Bye. That's not gone well. I mean, I am going to reject the bid now. What's his current contract? He's on a contract for 2 years, and then it expires. Can I offer him a new deal? I can't offer him a new deal. Jovic, you were meant to be the future, and instead you've got me by the gonads. And to make things worse, Tyan Bullet, who I was thinking about signing, is now under a bid from Leipzig, which I have no doubt whatsoever Union Berlin are just going to accept. I found a right-back option, Killian Fisher here, 25 years old. Not sure if he's the kind of girlfriend you do want to settle down and get married with, but I feel like he might be a bit boring. Yeah, I might get bored after 10 years and we both might want to go our own ways, but as a short-term deal, you could do worse at right-back. The only issue is that there are a lot of teams already interested in him, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to pry him away from going to them. Now I've discovered his expectations are 48,000 to 61,000. As a star player. That can't be right, can it? That can't be how much he actually thinks he should be on. It can't be. He can't think he deserves 60,000. I refuse to believe it. Look, 45,000, 5-year deal. I'm walking away. I didn't want to be with him anyway. Okay, good news. We have actually got some signings coming on in. Vitaly Becker is the first option. That is a long-term left-back option. And elsewhere, Gruder is going to join us. Two not particularly cheap deals, but deals that we can definitely afford to do. We are at a point with this squad where we currently have a first team of around 25 players with these new additions. So, yeah, we can afford to spend a little bit more on the players that I want to get in. And with these two players, we've got two players who I'm familiar with. Becker, I think, is going to be a great starting option. Gruder, more of a squad option, but has got a little bit of potential, which at 22 years old, I want to believe he can still fulfill. I feel like I should be freaking out more than I'm currently freaking out. The season starts in a week. I've made 2 signings, sold a lot of players. I mean, we do have a first team squad. There's still a fair few players in this team being headhunted and a few who are wanted. I'm not sure if this list of players that we have now is going to be the same list of players I have when the window shuts later on next month. I was just looking at German striking options because we are a little light in the striking department. Desnan Pjensinovic. That sounds like a really good pronunciation. We'll just call him DP. We can't... That means something very different. Nickname suggestions, please. Please get me out of here. Aran's going to be allowed on this video still. He looks like he could be a good little option. He actually got 7 goals in 30 games for St. Pauli a couple of years ago in the Bundesliga 2. Has not been playing football for Wolfsburg in the top flight. 21 years old. Little bit of potential, I'd like to think. But even if he doesn't get that much better, a German player who's 21 years old averages a goal of the game for the under-21s for less than 10 million. Feels like a good deal. Rickhoff here is the current other backup striking option I have. By comparison, Desnan is he's just better, isn't he? I'm not sure if the inappropriate bit that just happened is going to make it into the video, but if it makes it into the video and you didn't catch anything, just be grateful. Just enjoy your innocence. Okay, bid of £7.75 million accepted for him. I feel like that is just a sensible bid for a player who I think has the potential to be a goal-scoring machine. In and amongst all the other transfer bits going on, missed this. Haller has turned down a load of clubs that we were trying to just give him to for free. I can only imagine they don't want to pay £85,000 and he's just happy secure in the bag. I've offered him out again for a free. Parma have made a bid. Maybe he'll go to Parma, although apparently he doesn't think a deal can be reached during contract negotiations. Our offer for Zenan has been accepted. Looks like he might be a really reasonable human being as well. He wants to be a squad player. Excellent. And it seems like he's got some semi-reasonable wage demands. £28,000, 4-year deal. I have just removed a load of percentage increases, so we will just move up the wages as appropriate. And he still wants a top division promotional wage rise. Let's remove and exclude that. I'll give you 40,000. That's a good money. He wants 42. I'll do 40. I will drive a hard bargain here, Zenan, but I need to save some pennies. Before I confirm the signing of this guy, I would like to get a scout report just so we can see the pros and cons. I'm sure some of you know this exists, but if you go to the scouting screen, scout priorities, you can see all the different players that I'm currently scouting. And if we find Zenan in this list, down in the bottom right, we can hit prioritize assignment and hopefully we'll get a scout report for him sooner rather than later. I looked at Pongracic before when we were looking at right backs. I'm actually sat thinking, would he be a good centre-back option for us? In real life, he has actually had a loan spell at Dortmund. I'm sure Dortmund fans can let me know how that loan spell went for him. At the moment, we've got Jekyll and Scholl at centre-back. Scholl is good. Whether or not I feel like he's ready to start each and every game is a bit more of a question mark. And actually, when you compare him with Pongracic here, you can see they're kind of a similar mould of player. I suppose the question becomes, do I want to pay £7 million for a minor upgrade that probably isn't going to be needed to achieve our goals this year? And that's where there's maybe a little bit more of a question mark. There is a player here who, looking at centre-backs, does jump out at me, and it's Andrew Omobamidele, who is, in real life, on deadline day, gone to Nottingham Forest for £20 million. In Football Manager, I feel like he's a very good centre-back. In this universe here, he has stuck it out with Norwich. Last year was playing in the Championship. They failed to get promoted. He got 4 player of the matches during the season. As far as centre-backs go, he does look very, very good. He's only on £26,000 a week, which I'd hope would lower his wage expectations. And also, he's currently unhappy. If we compare him with Scholl, there is a significant difference in overall ability. And on top of that, he is only 24 years old. He is a player very much entering his prime. I suppose that is indicated by the potential asking price. It would be our wildcard signing, but I do feel like you could do a lot worse. In the core 3 technicals for a centre-back, heading, marking, tackling, they're all 15s. His physicals are really good, solid mentals as well. We've got a scout report ongoing for him. How much does his agent think he's going to want? 17.5 to 22 million pounds. I'm going to lock in a non-negotiable 15 and try and get him to force a move to us. He's unhappy at Norwich. Surely with Dortmund of all teams interested, he's going to want to come to us. Of course, goes without saying he would be the wildcard signing this year. Looking at the squad, I feel like centre-back is an area I want to improve. He would do that for us. Elsewhere, Julian Ritkhoff here, who is, well, our backup striking option, I was just offering out to see what we might be able to get for him. There's a few offers here that actually really aren't that bad. This deal here from PAOK, potentially worth 9.25 million. I'm looking at Julian here, and with Zenan coming into the club for less than £8 million, if I could get rid of Julian, get a little bit of the money back to kind of offset the 2 transfers, I feel like it'd be sensible business. I feel like when you're a new manager and you come into a club, there's a signing that marks your era. This signing is going to be that signing. Adriano Onyebule is joining us from Union Berlin. £21 million. He is going to become the second highest earner at the club, trailing only Haller, but ultimately player with bags of potential, a player who I want to see the most made of, and I feel like by bringing him to this project, we're going to be the managers to achieve that. Also, pre-season still going well. We're just beating Trabzonspor 4-2. We are massive. With the signing of Adriano Onyebule confirmed, I do have a bit of a dilemma when it comes to Giovanni Reina. I've offered him out. I've tried to force him out the club. There's part of me now that's coming around to the idea that maybe we just keep him in the first team. He's on £36,000 a week, which actually makes his wages beyond reasonable. It's a 3-year deal as well that he is currently on. And unless a bid comes in for him, at this point, I think I might keep him around. It'll see him move into the wide area out on the left-hand side. Bino Gittins will then go onto the right-hand side as a winger, and then Duranville will move on to the bench. But naturally, this season, we will be rotating the team around. I want to make sure players like Duranville get bags of first-team football to help their development. So whilst there is going to be a fixed starting 11 at the start of the year that I say, this is my best team to, it's going to be shuffled quite a lot. Norwich City have rejected our bid for Omobamidele. Interesting to note, Wagner, the manager of Norwich, has basically said, when we get a bid reflecting his value, we'll sell him. I'm hoping that Andrew can kick up a bit of a stink and I can pinch a few pennies. Surely he's going to be unhappy that we can't sign him. He's already unhappy at the club. You know, I'm trying really hard to sign a player when I'm actually doing the press conference chats. Look, we're going to try and sign him. We're going to get him, Tim Wolf. Tell the press Omobami Dele will be a Dortmund player, hopefully for the start of the season in 6 days. I realise we are cutting that very fine now. Now we've got me talking in the press and then Wagner talking back in the press, saying that when they receive a bid acceptable, they'll let us have him. I've bid 18 million. As far as I'm concerned, that is reasonable. Okay, I've been asked to confirm my captaincy choices for the year. We don't have a load of leaders in the squad. I think we're going to promote Royce from vice-captain to captain. I'm being told that Lotka should be made the new vice-captain. This man is my backup goalkeeper. He's not being the captain or vice. And in fact, when I look through this list of players with good leadership, Haris Jovic is currently considered one of the better players when it comes to leadership and teamwork in the team. This might be a stupid decision considering he's unhappy I've not sold him to Tottenham. I'm making an 18-year-old our vice-captain. He's come from our academy. He's going to be the player who gets like 400 club appearances and then some. I've laid out his destiny in front of him now. Union Berlin have made another bid for Scholl. They made a bid last episode for Scholl. He's not available. I'm signing your players. You're not allowed to sign mine. Remember the right back? Yeah, Killian Fischer. He's a Frankfurt player now, so we don't have a right back. I mean, that's not true. We do have Mane here, a right back. I just don't have a backup right back. I mean, technically that's not true either. I do have a backup right back, but it is this guy, Namdi Collins, who is just a pace merchant. I mean, let's be honest. He's just a sprinter. He's not great at 22. I've got him in the first team squad as kind of a backup centre-back option. If he's playing at right-back with 2 crossing, something really has gone wrong. In my ongoing search for a backup right-back, I've come across Leandro Mogale. He is a German international at youth level, plays for Salzburg, and compared to Mane, well, I'm going to say it now, they are basically the same player. It's like they were cloned in a lab from one another, and for £4.5 million, whilst he is naturally a centre-back who can play right-back, I think he might be the best option we have. We will get a scout report on him, but in the meantime, I am going to make a bid. Hopefully, we can get a reasonable amount for him. And I'm pleased to report we didn't have to do any negotiating. They've just accepted 4.3 million. Probably could have got him cheaper in hindsight. Interesting to note, he only wants to be a breakthrough prospect, which I'd like to think will mean his wage demands are more reasonable. Whether or not it actually turns out that way remains to be seen. I'm going to offer him $13,500, 5-year deal. Let's get rid of all these optional bits in the contract. You know what? I feel like we could have done a lot worse. Knowing my luck now, we've negotiated this deal. I'm going to get the scout report. He's going to be injury prone, hating poor matches and be inconsistent. But at least from what we can see right now, I think he'll do as a stopgap right-back option. With the deal for Morgala from Salzburg negotiated, I wanted to go and look at the Salzburg squad because, of course, they are perhaps the best squad in Austria, and we do get the one signing from Switzerland, Austria, or Liechtenstein as part of our transfer restrictions. And I was reminded about Dion Kameri here, who is a very good centre-attacking mid-option. He is, in fact, a player who I had my eye on at Union Berlin, but just decided wasn't quite good enough. But for us right now, I think he'd be a good option. I've had a chat with his agent. His agent says he'll be interested in joining us. And on top of all of that, he does have a release clause of £8 million. I'm going to try and get him a little bit cheaper. I have a sneaking suspicion they're just going to lock in the release clause, which they are. But I don't know. I think for £8 million, he is another very, very good attacking midfielder option. Has just dawned on me, he was injured for 3 months last season, but even then, I kind of feel like he's just worth a punt. He wants to be a star player. I suspect he's going to want a lot of money. He wants a release clause as well. I feel like we're already on rocky footing. How much is he going to want? £45,000. That's less than I feared. That said, he wants a yearly wage rise, promotional wage rise, a release clause of less than £11 million. We're getting rid of all of that. 50. 50's my limit, mate. 50 you can have. I am just wondering, with the abundance of players who can play centre mid but not defensive mid, would it be criminal to go asymmetric? Are people going to have kittens in the comment section if we play an asymmetric system just to make the most of the players that we've got? I mean, it doesn't bother me one little bit, but I know some people are very particular about this. I mean, does this offend you? Does this upset you? Answers on a postcard. I don't care if it upsets you. I'm playing like it. Tottenham have made another bid for vice-captain Jovic. Maybe making our vice-captain, who's only on a 2-year deal and unhappy at the club and 18 years old, the vice-captain. Maybe that wasn't the best of ideas, but it's done now. I've got to ride with my mistakes. Surprise, surprise. Haller has turned down Parma. As Vado is leaving the club, £2 million to Heidenheim. And in some other news, Zinan is now happy to sign for us at £8 million. Only minor issue, I don't currently have the scout report on him, so I'm going to hit delay. I would have liked to have signed Philipp Schulz from Union Berlin, but we knew there was a lot of interest in him. Unfortunately for us, he has opted to go to St. Pauli, which, that's made more upsetting by the fact they are in the same division as us, to be honest. Would have been a great bargain signing, but alas, life goes on. And elsewhere, Rick Hoff is going to leave the building, £7 million for him. I feel like this is a really significant move. It's the first signing we've made not from Union Berlin. I feel like I'm slowly getting over the breakup, even if it was a breakup that I initiated. Meanwhile, our bid for Omar Bamidele has been turned down, and to make things worse, apparently a team in the UAE now want to sign him. I mean, financially, not sure we can compete with them. I'm going to offer £20 million. Suggest terms. They want more money. Do I really want to pay £22 million for him? It's what it's going to take to sign him. Is he worth 22 million? I hate to admit it, I think he probably is. When you compare him to Jekyll, who's currently our best centre-back option, he is undoubtedly a rather large upgrade. At 24 years old, we would have him for his prime years, you'd like to think, hoping his wage demands aren't going to be too unreasonable. But I feel like he's the kind of player who we could bring in at centre-back now, and he will be with us in 5 years' time as we're hopefully challenging at the top of the Bundesliga. Although I say all of that, apparently he has more interest in going to the UAE. I bet he's a big fan of the UAE League, isn't he? Arabian Gulf League. Been watching that since he was a kid, I'm sure. Okay, look, Andrew, I could offer you important player. I'm going to be a bit cheeky and suggest a regular starter. He didn't like that. It's not a good start. Wage-wise, he does want a top promotion wage-wise. Let's remove that and get rid of the sell-on clause. Look, £50,000, 5-year deal. Sign on the dotted line. He wants 68,000. Can we just do 60? Call it a nice clean 60. Andrew, please join us because I've kind of got my heart set on you now. I feel like you'd be the solution at the defence that we need. Also, if you can make that decision quicker, that would be nice. First game of the season's in 2 days' time. Kameri has agreed to join us. Do I want to sign Kameri? I've got this weird worry in the back of my mind that maybe he's not what I need, but at the same time, he is a very, very good player. I feel like for £8 million, we can almost afford to overpay on his wages slightly. I'm going to sign him, I think. It's another signing for the collection. It is now the day of the first game of the season. Andrew, do you want to agree to sign for us? Because I'd quite like you for this first game next episode. It'd be nice. Morgala is the only other signing we've currently got going on. I feel like if I get those two players, that's kind of the last two bits of the team that I'm immediately worried about solved, and we would still have a fair amount of money to go and strengthen the squad elsewhere with maybe 1 or 2 really good young German talents. I'm going to have to concede defeat. It's now time for the first game of the season, which we will be bringing your way to kick off tomorrow's episode. It will give us our first away day to look forward to next time out, and if you're sat there thinking, what's an away day? Oh my word, you are in for a treat. However, you are going to have to wait for that treat until tomorrow. Here is the transfer overview screen. Here are the signings and the sales we have made so far. The revolution is very much in full swing. Like I mentioned at the top of things, if you have enjoyed today's episode, do make sure to drop a like on it, especially with these transfer specials. A lot of time and effort goes into them, and it does massively help me out. Until next time, take things easy. Next time out, first game of the season. Has all my work been worth it? We'll find out together tomorrow. I'll see you then.